Sit back, get comfy. This is gonna be a long one. I'll have a menu set up. Be prepared. Hello loves, and welcome to another vlog wrap-up video. We are going to be going over these 11 themed books that I attempted to read this past 2 weeks for a mermaid themed reading challenge. So if you don't know, May in the art world is a time where people draw a lot of mermaids for May. And I have either attempted to participate or have participated several times over the years, and I thought this year, now that I'm doing a lot of booktube videos, it might be fun to do a combination, as I'm doing some mermaid video speed paint things over on my art channel, but it might be fun to do a mermaid themed reading challenge over here. So in this vlog, I will be going over the books with you guys, and I will be showing vlog footage of me while I'm actually reading it. So kind of like my last wrap-up video, I am going to be manning this whole video. I'll be telling you about the book, and then I will go back to past me, include some vlog footage, and then I'll let you know my current thoughts on them. And I'll probably include a couple of additional vlog things here and there. I don't know, we'll see. That's up to editing me. Anyway, let's get into it, because I think this is going to be a long one. All right. So the first book I attempted to read was House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. Now, I should mention that my priority or my criteria for all of these books were ideally mermaid related or sea related, and this was one of those books that I had a feeling wasn't actually mermaid related, and instead was, as far as I knew, it was a story about a girl whose sisters keep dying, and she believes there's a curse on her family and she has to find out what's going on. So I didn't think there was any really fantasy element to it. I definitely didn't know what I was getting into. Okay. Nope. Okay. Okay, so the first book has been picked. This is House of Salt and Sorrows. I believe this is a spooky book. I do believe that there are things like sirens and mermaids involved in this, possibly some other things as well, but I could be totally wrong, and I guess I will update you once I actually start the book. So now I just have to find where I have the audio book for this. Is it an Audible? Is it one of the ones that was from my library? So yeah, I'm going to find the audiobook and start listening to this one.
New question flickered in her eyes, just below the surface. Impossible to miss. Which one of us would be next? Chapter 2. I lingered in the mausoleum as everyone left for the day, wanting to say goodbye to Amy on my own, free of prying eyes. His services rendered, the High Mariner gathered up his chalice and candlesticks, his salt water, and my father's 2 coins, before setting off down the little path to the shoreline and back to his hermitage on the northernmost point of Selkirk Island. You could always taste the sea. The workers were ended as they hoisted the last brick into place, silencing the water altogether. Then I was alone. The crypt was really nothing more than a cave, but for one unique feature. A wide river ran underneath, carrying fresh water, and the bodies of departed spouses out to sea.
Okay, update time. So I'm currently reading House of Salt and Sorrows. I'm pretty far into it. For a good chunk of this, I just haven't really known what to think, what to focus on. It's getting to kind of spooky vibes. There aren't mermaids or even, you know, like mythical creatures like mermaids. There's no sirens. There's none of that. It's basically a family that lives right by the water, and they are of the Salton Sea. And that's kind of just like them. Now, that being said, I am enjoying it. I don't know what to think. Things are picking up right now. I really don't know what to say, but for a majority of the book, although I was interested, and like feeling the mood. The audiobook has this very nice like tone to it. I listened to it at 2.5 speed, so it is on the fast side for me. I do that for all of my audiobooks. But I like the way it sounds. Anytime I listen to an audiobook at normal speed, it sounds so slow and weird, and I'm not into it. That's how like used to listening to it fast I am. So I'm enjoying it so far. Interested to see how it turns. Interested to see what the whole thing is about. Like, I just want to know what's going on. Okay, so I've gotten further into House of Salt and Sorrows, and I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Some weird things have happened, some spooky things have happened, some things that don't make sense have happened. I still don't know what to think, and I'm pretty far into it now. I'm really far into it. I might be even further than this. So you would think I would have a solid thought on it, but I really don't. I guess it all kind of depends on how this book ends. Like, I don't know. Okay, I just finished House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig, and I still don't know. I don't know. What am I rating this? How do I feel about this? I don't know. In general, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I was very engaged. I was very involved. There are things that I'm still confused about. I feel like I want to read this a second time. I'm gonna say maybe a 4 stars. I'm gonna say it's a 4 stars now, and that may or may not change up or down based off of a second read. So it's gonna be a while before I have a final, because I'm not reading this again anytime soon. Okay, so to wrap all of that up, I don't actually remember what I said, so keep that in mind for this part of the video. But yeah, so to wrap all of that up, I wasn't expecting the fantasy element. I love the spooky vibe of this book. I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought that I would after I just initially got into it. Just the whole vibe of it. This book was one of those books where I didn't know what I was supposed to be expecting or getting into, but I was there for the ride. The way that it was written was interesting. I just wanted to know what was going to happen, even though there wasn't a thread really pulling me along. I think the writing was really nice, and like I said, the tone of the book was fantastic. That being said, what would I give it right now, a couple weeks after having read it? That's a good question. I guess probably a high 4 stars. I don't necessarily think this is a 5-star for me at the moment, but I did really, really enjoy it. Next book, we have Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. And this is supposed to be a book that about, I guess, a mockumentary that was made looking for mermaids, and unfortunately they found them, and the crew of the mockumentary was lost because of that. And then many years later, a lot of people don't believe it was real. They think that the crew had some other issues, and that the mermaid footage that was leaked was all fake. Several years later, another crew goes out to basically prove that mermaids are real and that wasn't faked, and, you know, to discover what happened on the first voyage. Okay, so I am listening to Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, and this is supposed to be a spooky mermaid book. I think it's going to be spooky, like sharks. Is that what it was called? Jaws. Like Jaws? Like that type of horror spooky. Like, it's not actually scary on its own, but it's one of those situations where it'd be like, you know, Jaws in like Jurassic Park, which, I don't know, isn't scary, but is, you know? So right now I've gotten just like a lot of information about certain things. I do not care really about anything going on. I am vaguely interested, but not specifically. I keep being told that I should care about certain characters, or that like the main character cares about their sibling. Like, I get it, but I don't really care. Okay, good morning. It is May 6th and I have been reading Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, and admittedly wasn't super into it. I'm gonna be honest with you. There was a lot of different people that you're kind of jumping back and forth from. There's all this kind of science-y information, which I dig, but was kind of done in a way that I wasn't super excited about. I didn't know exactly what the point was. Like, what am I supposed to focus on? Like, I just haven't really gotten into it. And we now have our first kind of encounter situation. And as soon as it was happening, I'm all like, oh my goodness, you have to be kidding me, you dumb person. So that happened. I did think it was interesting. I did get involved, like, as it was happening. I was like, oh god, oh god, oh god, okay, of course, you know, like that sort of thing. Like, it was kind of like when you're watching a movie and you're like yelling at the people. Like, I had one of those moments, and that was kind of fun, to be honest, regardless of my thoughts and feelings of the actual situation. I did enjoy that moment regardless. And I think things are going to turn around. So hopefully I'll be able to finish this today and start the next start the next book, because this one has been taking longer than I would have liked. And you can see right here my fat stack of books I'm still trying to go through. Oh, it's already Thursday. How is time going by so fast? It's Thursday and I've only completed one book. Uh-oh, that's bad news. Okay, we are listening more to Into the Drowning Deep, and people are dumb. Just, that's my update. People are dumb. I like a couple of the characters. I don't love any of the characters. I feel like the writing is kind of all over the place. It jumps all over the place. There are these like sentient moments where you're like on the outside looking in, and it tells you about like a fact of something else that's kind of unrelated to all of our narrators, the different voices that we're going through. So I guess, is that like omniscient third person? I don't know the actual writing term for it, but yeah, there are moments where you're getting information that like no person would get. It's just like the experience of the fish outside of the thing or whatever. Like, you get a couple of times. I think that is kind of cool. I would prefer, and this is a note for the audiobook, not the book itself, but I would prefer if that was ended up, I don't know, told in a different voice or a different way, so that it's clear that it's not one of our characters, but instead it's kind of this overview voice that we're getting.
Ever brought them into waters shallow enough to support that sort of ecosystem. He wondered whether they looked at the Melusine and saw a sort of floating reef, something that served the same purpose for its air-breathing inhabitants as the coral structures did for those beneath the sea. It was a charming, whimsical thought, and it would have seemed a lot more reasonable if the mermaids hadn't turned out to be flesh-ripping monsters that wanted to eat everyone in sight. Oh well, couldn't win them all.
Okay, success. We have completed Into the Drowning Deep, and I actually don't know how to rate this. I did find it interesting. It did give me Jaws feels. I love how I say that. I don't even remember the movie Jaws. Like, I was so young when I saw it, so take that with a grain of salt. But it makes me think of it roughly. You know, it's a ship in the middle of nowhere, and water creatures start attacking the crew, basically. So you can understand why I keep getting those feels. Now, there were things that I really didn't like about this. I don't even necessarily think I liked the ending, but part of me also still likes the book. I think it was interesting. I like some of the concepts. I didn't necessarily love the structure, but I think that can be partially because I was listening to it in audiobook form, and it could have done better with a full cast on that. So it's possible that if I was reading it proper, that wouldn't be an issue. I did like some of the like sentient moments where it kind of like zoomed out and gave you a deeper understanding of what was going on in areas that you otherwise wouldn't know about. I thought that was cool. That sort of, in some instances, made me think of horror movies where, you know, the people that are under attack by whatever monster or bad guy is trying to attack them can't actually see the bad guy, but we do as the audience, and we're like, no, don't go over there, or something like that, you know, and it kind of adds a little bit to the tension. So there were a couple of moments like that. Some of them were completely unrelated, which was also cool. But I don't know, it's weird. Like I said, I don't necessarily think I liked the ending. Like, I didn't hate it. I'm not mad at the ending, but I definitely don't love it. Like, the ending itself didn't go, oh, this was a good ending, now I really like this book. It was kind of like, that wasn't super satisfying. I would have been happier with something else. But I still like the book, which is a weird sensation. So I'm assuming the logical rating would be 3 stars, but we'll see what I give it after the end of this whole thing. This whole 2 weeks, because I imagine it's gonna be a little bit different. Okay. So this book is very interesting because I think it was very well done, but for some reason, perhaps because of all of the different timelines and perspectives, not timelines, but all of the different voices that we were keeping track of, and the, I don't know, the overall tone of everything. It was very science-y in a not as interesting way. Like, I really enjoy science-y things and I love kind of learning about that stuff, but I feel like the way that it was done was kind of just like, oh, I'm throwing facts at you so that I sound smart instead of it being interesting. And I could be totally wrong. I did listen to the audiobook for basically all of the books in this challenge, so I could have just not been fully paying attention because I wasn't super engaged or interested in it. But I did want to know what was going on, and the more I got into it, the more I got into it. I didn't really care about the characters. I thought that a lot of the decisions they made were stupid, but it made me feel like watching an old horror movie, specifically something like Jaws, which is mostly because there's a similar vibe considering, you know, they're on a boat and they're being attacked by something that they believe is possibly mermaids, right? Like, they went looking for mermaids, they get attacked by something, and now they're like dealing with that. And I really enjoyed that aspect. There were moments where I felt like, while watching a horror movie, where you're like, no, don't do that, or oh, you're so stupid. Like, I had those moments and I recognized that while reading it and just really enjoyed it. I thought that that was a fun experience. I didn't really care necessarily about the characters. There were a couple that I was starting to care about and then kind of was all like, like they didn't really grip me enough to really care. But yeah, I did enjoy it overall. I think this is, I'm torn. It's between a high 3 stars and a low 4 stars at this moment in time. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience. I didn't love the ending. I didn't love the characters. Yeah, so probably the smartest one would be a 3 stars, but a high 3 stars. Like, I have feelings about this book, which some 3 stars is all like, it was a good time, but like, whatever, you know. There's more to this that I really appreciated, but there were a lot of things that I didn't necessarily like or didn't care about, so that's where I'm sort of leaning at the moment. Next up, I wanted to include some books by POC authors, and admittedly, trying to find books in this genre by POC authors were not easy. It just wasn't easy. So most of the books that I read for this challenge were by like just regular white authors, which is okay as well, but I did attempt it. That being said, I did find The Deep by River Solomon, which is a Black creator or author, and this is basically a novella. Well, basically there is a historian in the Mermaid Society that remembers all of the history. Like, their job is to basically hold the mermaid history, and I think once a year they let out that mermaid history to everybody else for a short amount of time so that everybody can remember, and then they take it back and they keep that burden. And it's a play on the horrific reality of slaves that were thrown overboard as damaged cargo during basically slavery. So this is basically playing on a different idea of that, of something coming from that, of them not just being lost souls. The act of that turned them basically into mermaids, and I really liked that idea. So was really excited to get into this one. Rolling down in the deep end.
Simon & Schuster Audio presents The Deep by River Solomon with David Diggs, William Hudson, and Jonathan Snipes. Read by David Diggs.
Okay, so since my last book ended up taking a lot longer than I was expecting, I think I'm going to go with, but anyway, it's a novella as far as I can tell, and it looks like it's like 166 pages roughly, so hopefully I can finish this really quick.
The audiobook that you are currently listening to, and I'd likely have said that you listened to too quickly, or you went double speed, I know you were, and is now over, is only one step in what its editor, Novel Wolf, described as a game of artistic telephone.
Okay, gotta love when an audiobook calls me out for listening to something on double speed. When I heard that part, I just... I laughed out loud because I was all like, yes, yes I am actually 2.5 speed, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I just finished The Deep by River Solomon. Apparently, this is based off of a story that was created by a song, I believe. So basically, I don't know all of the details, but at the end, it kind of tells you the story itself. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it. There are parts that I really like. Parts of it, I think, happened abruptly. I feel like one of the concluding things that happened could have been stretched just a little bit longer. Not even necessarily changed, but I feel like, I don't know, it would have done more if I was in that moment for longer. Now, I was listening to it at 2.5 speed, but that is relatively, or that's a lot closer to actual reading speed. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I didn't love it. I feel like it had a lot of potential, and there were some things that, I don't know, I kind of just wish they did a little bit more with that so that I could love it. All right, so for this book, I was disappointed, in all honesty. I think the idea was kind of cool. I just didn't really love the execution of it all. I feel like it had so much more potential and it didn't really reach it, but I did enjoy it and I would still recommend it because it is so short. So if it is a book that you're like, oh, I'd love to give that a shot, there's no problem with it. I don't think anything was necessarily bad in the book. I think my biggest issue was the majority of the story went in a direction that I wasn't expecting. It took a lot of time, which I think was fine. I think the pacing of that was fine, but the kind of conclusion and wrap up happened too quickly. So I felt like it was imbalanced in that department. Again, I would recommend the book regardless. I think, again, a high 3 stars for this one. Now, the next book, also written by a Black author, is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Marrow. And this book is basically about a modern world. So it's basically like the world we live in now, but that has fantasy elements in it. And specifically, there are sirens. So we have sirens. All sirens are black women. Not all black women are sirens. And it has the same, I guess, social and racial structure as we do in our world. So being a black woman in this world, you're kind of the lowest of the low. And then sirens, being a siren is even worse. Because sirens are shunned in this society because people are afraid of them, basically. And one of our main characters, we have two main characters for this, one of them is a siren and, you know, obviously is keeping it under wraps. And there is a trial that is happening that involves a siren, and the way that it is wrapped up could determine the fates of sirens moving forward, because they're already super shunned, and depending on what they decide, it basically would give sirens some level of rights or completely take some of them away. So you have that, and then in addition there is some other story happening around our second character that is happening at the same time, trying to figure out what's going on with her. But because this is happening to basically their sisters for all intents and purpose, and obviously she's trying to deal with her own thing while her siren sister is dealing with this whole thing. And it's kind of, there's this family aspect, there is this racial aspect, there is this discovering who you are aspect, and then there's this just beautiful fantasy aspect. All of those other books that I have there are all just bonus books that I'm reading on top of my TBR game picks. So it would make sense to read this. Good morning. Today is Friday, May 7th, and I am listening to A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Marrow, and I'm loving what this book is doing. It's basically like Now, but if different like magical fantasy things existed. We still have the race issues that we have in the real world, but to make things worse, we have this problem where there are sirens, and even more than just being black, sirens are shunned. An enthralling tale of black girl magic and a searing social commentary, ready to rattle the bones. Yeah, so far this is a pretty amazing book. I'm definitely biased towards it. I am getting very emotional because of how much I can relate. So far, I do think that everything is pretty solid. The story is engaging, the writing is good. I feel like it keeps me involved, but again, the subject matter and the social commentary aspect of it is definitely affecting me more than a book that wouldn't have that. Okay, it's getting close to the end, and I am loving this book. Loving it. Okay, yeah, I'm so excited. We're gonna see. Let's see how this ends. I'm excited. I really like this. This is a good one so far. And we're done. I loved it. It was good. It was great. Good book. 5 stars. Okay, so I feel like I probably gave it away with my description of the book, but I loved it. I loved this book so much. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I still feel like it's 5 stars. I've already pre-ordered the second book in the series, even though this one did finish up very nicely. I'm excited to just see more from this world because I love the urban fantasy element that is included in here, and I want to see what happens. I love the way it ended. I loved the family dynamics. I just loved it. So highly recommend. I also felt like this fit the theme very, very well. So good mermaid siren book. really into it. Okay. Next book is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. And I was really excited about this book. I had no clue what it was about, and I was pretty sure that it wasn't mermaid related at all. I thought it was just going to be a ship-based book, but instead it is mermaid related right off the bat. You're introduced to some sirens, more sirens, and it's basically about a war that's going on between kingdoms. You've got your siren kingdom, or your under the water kingdom, and then you also have the kingdoms on land. And we have two characters, one who's a siren and is forced on land, and another one who is a siren killer. And they end up together, not knowing, or him not knowing that she's a siren, and things ensued, etc, etc. I am currently feeling weird, so I'm gonna be starting To Kill a Kingdom pretty soon, but thanks, Kiwi. But basically, I just have like so many things on my plate, and it's like driving me nuts, pretty much. I have a bunch of things that I'm really excited about. I can't wait to start, and I just want to focus on. Okay, fun piece of information. This book is not what I was expecting it to be. I picked it because of the cover, and I had a feeling that it had to do with the water to some degree, but I didn't really think it was going to be about mermaids or sirens or any of that stuff, but it is, so it fits perfectly with the mermaid. Of course the battery died while I was trying to give my update, so basically this fits with the theme perfectly because it's all about sirens and mermaids and all of that goodness, so that makes me really happy. I want it to go away. I don't know if it's going to. I honestly don't know enough about it, so I don't know if it's going to go in that direction or not. I don't think this is the first in a series. I do think it's a standalone, but I could be wrong. So I don't really think we're going to have enough time for things to shift, but we'll see. But I am enjoying it so far. I don't necessarily love it. I'm not super invested, but I do like the direction it's going, and I'm interested in seeing what happens, basically. That's where I'm at the moment. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I haven't been giving updates on this. I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this. I'm really getting into it. It's not that serious, but I'm getting emotional, which I'm digging. Shit's about to go down, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So I had a feeling I would love this book, and I was correct. This is fantastic. So good. And I'm so glad, because it's funny, I flip-flopped between what I thought this was going to be. Originally I was all like, oh, I think this is supposed to be like a mermaid whatever story, and then I was all like, oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like, you know, pirates and ships and stuff. And it is a mermaid and pirates and ships story. It's all about kingdoms and power and feuds and war and fantasy. You've got your mermaids, you've got your sirens, and I liked it. It's fun. I enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff though, so I guess keep that in mind if you're listening to my endorsement of this book. It's definitely biased. I like this kind of stuff, so I had a good time. I had a good time. Okay, so I really enjoyed this book. I wasn't, like, I was expecting it, but I also wasn't, because I didn't know what it was gonna be about. I was pleasantly surprised that this fit the theme and was more about, you know, kind of underwater, out of water experiences. I love the direction it went. I loved the characters. I just loved it. I loved it a lot. Okay, I'm gonna be a little bit honest with you. Some of these books, I keep picking them up and being all like, what happened in this book? So this is The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill, and it's a reimagining of The Little Mermaid. And I don't remember what happened in this book. Shit. I don't remember this one. Okay. Yeah, so I can't really tell you what this is about. I know it's a reimagining of The Little Mermaid. I don't even remember what I felt about it, which is bad because I don't think I've written a review on it yet. I'm gonna have to watch my footage myself and figure it out. I feel like that speaks volumes. Alright, now that I just finished a book that reminded me of The Little Mermaid, let's read a book that I think is supposed to be a reimagining of The Little Mermaid, called The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. Yeah, it says it right here, a reimagining of The Little Mermaid. But yeah, so let's see what we have in store. I'm excited. Okay, so I'm currently listening to the audiobook for The Surface Breaks, and I'm liking it so far. I love the accents that we have in the actual audio narration. I think that's a nice added effect to everything. It just feels really nice. I also feel so far that everything's going pretty well, but it does just make me think of, because if you remember the Disney movie, I don't know if this is true for the original fairy tale. I've read it before, but I just don't remember. But one of the reasons why she wants to go on land is because she's frustrated by basically the oppression that she deals with as a woman, with her father expecting things of her and things like that. And this book is doing an annoyingly good job at showcasing, I guess, misogyny and the heartbreaking unfairness that women have gone through. One of the things early on is that on her 16th birthday, she's supposed to be married off to one of her father's friends, basically. So a grown-ass man. And it's just heartbreaking, right? It's disgusting because of the age difference, and the comments that he makes are just ugh. But it's also heartbreaking because, like, this is something that we have had as a thing in our society in the past. So I don't know, it's just it's a little bit frustrating, and I can't wait until she breaks apart from that and is able to kind of free herself, because I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. She's gonna break away from, you know, her arranged marriage and her father's oppression and, you know, all of the troubles that she has under the sea, and find something different. Granted, I imagine this may be more on the dark side. I wonder if it's going to be a little bit more like the original story that doesn't end nicely. It's not a happily ever after situation. I wonder if it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I don't know. We'll see.
As it always does in the kingdom, the winter festival comes and goes. The courtroom is adorned with silver and gold in its honor, and goblets are held to the air to toast the seeking.
Okay, so I am continuing to read this, and admittedly, I don't know, I'm not really into it. Not because there's anything wrong with it, not because it's written wrong. It's just like, I don't really want to focus on this kind of stuff at the moment. And I'm just like, I'm just not enjoying it. I do want to know how they resolve the story. Like, I'm interested in seeing like what happens, but yeah, I just not super into it right now. I don't know, this whole thing just makes me kind of upset and uncomfortable, which I think is partially the point. Like, she's currently in an uncomfortable situation. She's got like a time restraint. There's this, I don't know, but like, I'm just not loving it. Okay, so I just finished The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill, and I started liking it more as it went on. I liked the turn that it took. I was hoping that it would do something like that, and it did. The ending was pretty satisfying, so yeah, this ended up being pretty good in the end. Knowing the whole Little Mermaid story definitely made me not really want to read it, but fortunately there were some differences that, like I said, made this enjoyable. I do believe this is supposed to be more modern times, which I didn't realize until an event was happening on one of the boats, and they were just like talking, I don't know, it just made it seem like it was more modern than I had felt. That was a weird experience. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Like, I don't know what the time period is supposed to be, but other than that, like, I did enjoy it as things went on. I like the twists and turns, and mostly I enjoyed the end. That does mean that at this point I have completed quite a good chunk of the books off of my list. I was a little bit nervous because this book ended up taking a while for me to get through, but I did breeze through these ones. So I am pretty much on track, I believe. There are 5 left total, and the next one that I think I'm going to pick up is The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. Okay, moving on. Okay, so the next one we have The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton, and this book was not what I expected it to be. I think I was thinking this was more going to be a ship on sea being attacked by like mermaids. I thought it was gonna be heavy in the fantasy. I thought it was basically just gonna be like a piratey type feeling book. But instead we've got a interesting cast of characters. We've got some very annoying misogyny and just characters that you like not being in pleasant situations. And then you got a mystery on hand. So this was more of a mystery, and I was not expecting that. Like, I was just expecting fighting the bad guy. And don't get me wrong, there is a devil in the dark water, and there are like a lot of things happening, but I think the focus is more trying to figure out why and how to stop it that way, instead of, you know, just like swords and fighting and things like that, which for some reason is what I was expecting. I was thinking like Kraken type situation, but it's a little bit more detective. Time for a book update. So I started yesterday, technically, The Devil and the Dark Water, and I didn't get very far into it. I realized it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but I just went to go drop off some orders at the post box, so I decided that I would listen to it on the way. And I don't know how I feel about it. So basically what I know so far is that we've got a fairly large group of players. So we've got a large cast, and they're about to go on a voyage on a ship. And right before they're about to leave, somebody comes and says that if the ship leaves, then, you know, horrible things, like it'll meet a horrible fate or whatever. So we've got that. All of the characters that I like in the book so far are all basically oppressed at the moment. But right now, it just sucks. like all of the characters that I'm all like, yeah, these are cool. Like, they're constantly being, I don't know, shown up against their unfortunate situations, and it's a little bit too relatable. I'm not excited about it. I don't know if there's going to be anything fancy. It is The Devil in the Dark Water, and something is supposed to happen when they go out to sea, so maybe we're gonna get like a kraken or something. I don't know, some sort of sea creature is going to try and take over the ship, or it could be completely unrelated, but I'm just like not really into it. And it's funny because the fact that I like all of these characters and they're in such crappy situations makes me think that if I stick to it, there's a possibility that I will really like the book, because some of my favorite books are the ones where I'm the most uncomfortable at certain points of the story, and then, you know, whatever characters I like overcome whatever those are, and then I enjoy it. I'm all like, yeah, you overcame this crappy situation. But like, one of the books that I'm thinking had something like that happen, it didn't happen until like the middle of the book, where they're, you know, being a woman and men being assholes and having power came into play, was like halfway through the book. So at least I could just thoroughly enjoy the setup get invested in the characters and what's going on, then they reach a block that I'm all like, this sucks, but like I'm still into it because I've enjoyed it so far at this point, and it's not because like the writing's bad, it's just because what she's going up against is bad. And then there was like overcoming it. I don't know if this book is gonna be like this because like right off the bat, I'm all like, I am not enjoying this. Okay, book update. So I'm still not 100% sure how I'm feeling about this one. I'm not that far into it, and I'm kind of just all like, is it over yet? Which is not a good start. I still have, I guess 4 more books outside of this one that I have to finish in the next like 4 days. I could DNF this, but I think I'll like it once I get further into it. I really like the characters. I am partially intrigued with the story. I think it's set up really well. It's just like I said, I'm not 100% enjoying the circumstances that the characters find themselves in, but like learning more information about them is interesting. The characters are fairly interesting. So like there are things that are going for it. I just like wish something else. At the same time, I'm working on a studio vlog for my shop update, which I'm going to be doing next month. I have my mermaid drawings that I printed out. I'm doing them myself, which I'm pretty happy about. And then I also have these drawings from a while ago, which I just printed out as well. And I love how they all turned out. I'm like so happy with the end result. I'm gonna do these photos and get back to listening to this. Wish me luck. Okay, I am a little more than halfway through the book, and I have about an hour left before I have to basically wrap things up and get ready for bed. And I don't know, like, I'm interested, things are happening. I don't know why I'm not super gripped by this. Like, I am interested. I imagine I'll continue to listen to it. Right now I'm basically just listening to this and working on the June Patreon rewards. I'm doing a cottagecore theme for the month. Good morning! So today is May 12th, Wednesday, and I am still reading The Devil and the Dark Water. I'm actually pretty far into it at this point. I haven't updated my bookmark, but I am pretty far into it. I've definitely gotten into it. I'm interested. I want to know what's going on. I could tell from the beginning that if I stuck with this book, I would probably enjoy it. It definitely has a mystery vibe around the whole thing, a kind of spooky mystery vibe. There are things about it that I don't really like. As you know, I haven't really enjoyed this whole process of reading the book. I do like a lot of the characters. Their circumstances are annoying, but I think that's kind of, you know, just like, that's not a bad thing in itself. Yeah, I'm definitely more invested in the overall story at this point, which is nice. I was correct in the end. This was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Enough were part of me, because the endings tends to affect my feelings quite a bit about books. Part of me wants to be like, 5 stars, that was great, but I, for some reason, just wasn't into it for a good chunk of the book. And that could have just been my mindset at the time. It could have been because I was expecting something else. I don't know. But I think it's unfair in this case to like try and change it that much. So I think I'll give this 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. We'll see if that changes when future me is doing the wrap up. Okay, and as you could see, I had quite an issue with how the characters were being treated that I liked. I really wasn't in the mood to kind of deal with that. I could tell that I liked several of the characters right off the bat, and their circumstances made me very uncomfortable and kind of upset. And I didn't necessarily want to read it, but I knew, I can tell right off the bat that if I did, I would enjoy it, and I was right. I loved the way that this book ended. I loved the direction that it went. It wasn't as fitting for the theme as I would have liked, although there were some mild fantasy elements involved in it. I don't 100% know if it all made sense, but I still had a good time and I was a fan. I was a fan. This was a great mystery, a great fun, sea-born, spooky-ish, you know, fantasy-esque mystery. I guess I would give it a 4 stars, surprisingly. Next up, we have The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock, and all I know really about this book is that it's about Mr. Hancock basically coming into possession of a mermaid and having to kind of deal with that, and then we also have some additional characters, and I believe some romance is supposed to go ensues, and that's kind of all I really knew going into this. Okay, time for our next big book. So I'm gonna start The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock. I'm hoping this is mermaid related. This was one of the first books that I ended up picking when I was thinking to do this themed challenge. It was really hard finding mermaid themed books, to be honest, especially when I also tried to find mermaid themed books created by POC authors. That's why I only have, what, 2? A Song Below Water and The Deep. I don't think any other book from this whole entire thing is by a POC author, which is heartbreaking. But these are cool regardless, so I'm going to give this one a shot. So this is by Imogen Hermes Gower. I imagine I am totally butchering that name. But yeah, so I guess let's get into it. Okay, so I am taking a quick break and I'm making one of these home chef meals. This is not sponsored, I'm just trying them out. I thought that everything was pretty much going to be prepared and I just had to like pop it in the oven, but there is a little bit more prep work. So I'm going to be making this chicken and truffle cream, but the instructions are pretty simple. Figured I would share this with you. Oh, and I'll also be continuing to listen to The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock while I am cooking. I will say a little update. So far I'm liking it. It's not exactly what I expected, but I don't know what I was expecting. Basically, it's about a guy who gets a mermaid, doesn't know what to do with it, and basically tries to, you know, sell it as an oddity so that he can get his money back because it wasn't his choice and he lost everything in the process. And then we also have a couple of women who were previously and or still part of a brothel and somehow they are connected. But yeah, I don't know. I'll keep you updated once I get further into it.
You can feel the particular part of her upper lip, even as she presses it against him. We have already spent too long.
Okay, so I am continuing to read The Mermaid and Mrs Hancock, and I'm confused. I don't know what the point of this is. Is it Mr. Hancock, not Mrs.? I was pretty sure that the S meant Mrs. I don't know. I don't know what the point of this is. I'm not super into it. I kind of just don't care. I don't care about the characters. I don't care about the story. I don't care about the plot. I just, like, I don't care. So here I am trying to convince myself whether or not I should DNF it. I'm spending so much time telling myself why I should just DNF this. I should just DNF it. So I think we are going to say goodbye to this one. All right, so even though this technically is a book about a mermaid, it definitely didn't have the feeling that I was expecting. I wasn't enjoying any of the characters. I couldn't see what direction it was supposed to go. I think I took out my bookmark, but I got almost halfway through it and I still didn't know what the point of this book was. It mentions that there's supposed to be a romance element to it, and I was all like, I don't like any of the characters. I don't want any of them to be together. I don't like, there was like one character that I liked and I was all like, that character isn't gonna be Mrs. Hancock because it's his niece. It just, I wasn't into it. Then we have Sea Witch, and I was excited about this, but at this point I was also kind of like, I don't know if I really want to read this. I thought it was the beginning of a long series. I believe it's just a duology at the moment. More books may happen in the future, but only 2 are available as far as I know. And I don't know, I just like wasn't, at this point I was all like, I'm over it. I don't think I want to read another book like this. So this one, I didn't know much about it going in, and I think it's nice not knowing much about it going in. It has Little Mermaid elements to it, but from kind of different perspectives and technically a different story. Good morning and time for a update. So I started Sea Witch yesterday and basically has the Little Mermaid vibe, but from a different person's perspective, which I think is really cool. And there seems to be some sort of twist that makes it not really like that, which I also think is pretty cool. So I'm actually digging that quite a bit. Like, I like it. I like it so far. I don't know where it's going right now. I'm just all like, yeah, I like this, but let's see where it goes. Like, this could go bad. Wicked meets the Little Mermaid. Okay, right when I was thinking I was feeling better today, my head starts to bother me and my stomach comes back with a vengeance. So I think I'm gonna try and take an actual sick day today and rest for the most part. I'll probably, when I'm awake, continue to listen to the audiobooks that I have left, but other than that, I think I'm just gonna try and sleep most of the day. Doing so good. Hello. So today is Friday, May 14th, and I am sick. So yesterday I wasn't feeling well. I was mostly having some stomach issues, and then today I thought I was feeling better, but my head started to hurt and then my stomach started to follow right after. So I've been feeling pretty crappy. I did just make something to eat, and I am trying to relax and listen to audiobooks, but I need a break because my head is too much at the moment. But last night I did finish Sea Witch, and I really liked it. There were some parts of it that I wasn't a fan of. It just like motivations for some things didn't really fully fit, especially under the specific circumstances where it was kind of like, oh, that made sense, but you would think, yada yada yada. So there were some things that I was like, but overall I liked the direction that it took. I liked the ending. I felt like it was very satisfying. This is a book that you can read on its own. It's very satisfying. And I wasn't sure if I was going to continue with the series, but realizing it was just a duology and I wasn't really doing anything else at that time, I decided to pick up the second book. So I did start listening to Sea Witch Rising. Okay, so this one I feel like took some interesting went in some interesting directions, and I overall really enjoyed it. I liked seeing a semi-familiar story plot, but in a different way, from like a different perspective, but then also with differences to it. So for this one, I ended up giving it 4 stars. For some reason, I decided to pick up the second book, which I think may have been included in the last clip because I talked about them, I think, right at the same time. After finishing the first one, I sat there for a while and was all like, oh, maybe I should pick up this next one. And so I picked it up. Again, it's pretty much a completely different story. It is also very Little Mermaid inspired. So this is like years down the line. This is even more close to the original Little Mermaid. Pleasantly surprised. It's pretty awesome. I'm really digging this duology here, or at least I think it's a duology. Okay, so I have completed both of the books and I enjoyed them a lot. This one I liked more than this one, and if another one is made, I will read it. This one has a really solid ending where you don't really feel the need to continue. This one has a decent ending where a continuation feels like that's probably what's going to happen. Like it feels like there's more to this story versus this one. It was like, okay, that's done, because they are kind of separate. So I feel like if a third book happens, it'll be a continuation of this story, if that happens. And I could be wrong, who knows? But yeah, I enjoyed these. So I think I ended up giving this 4 stars, and then I think I'm giving this one 5. I don't know, I liked it. I liked this one even more than the first one. I liked it. I like this one a lot, enough where I think this just happened, so I might change my mind in like 2 weeks or something, but like at the moment I'm thinking that this is like a 5 star. Like I really enjoyed this. Look at my stack here. Oh, look at it. Okay. On to the last book. So we have Seafire here, and this book seems to be about basically some friendships and pirates and sea captaining and a lot of things going on. I'll let past me get into it a little more. And that means we have 1 book left for this themed reading challenge, this themed reading vlog, this read-a-thon, this, I don't know what this is. What is this? What did I make this? This mermaid inspired mermaid reading vlog. Oh well, hopefully you're enjoying it. If you are, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. I've been pretty preoccupied with my art channel and Patreon stuff and shop stuff, so I've been a little bit out of it, so don't mind me if it takes a minute to reply to things. I'm out of it, so let me stop talking and I'll give you an update when I have something to update you on. Okay, so I have started Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. I believe this is a YA ship-based novel, and I am not into it right now. It seems like it's got this girl power vibe, which I'm really into, and even the tagline is "Sisterhood is survival," but I find myself, I keep just like drifting off and not paying attention. I've been listening to the audiobook. I'm an hour into the audiobook and I'm just not. And stuff has happened, like some exciting, crazy stuff. Someone ended up getting injured. Like it starts off in the heat of whatever's going on, and then the ships and the girls and they're helping each other, and like there's a decent amount of stuff going on right off the bat, and yet here I am just like, I don't know, I like have no interest to pay attention, and basically I'm just gonna chalk it up to me not being in the mood for it, and instead of trying to force it, I would like to enjoy the books that I'm reading. And I'm just like, I'm not into it at the moment. So I think that's gonna wrap up this video then. We're to the end. Okay, yeah, so basically this one, I still don't know too much about it. I DNF'd it pretty early on, not because I think the book is bad itself, it's just I don't think I was necessarily in the mood for it. It seems to be very girl powery, it seems to be very YA, and I think I might enjoy it if I give it another shot, so I do plan on giving it another shot in the future, but it just, I just didn't care. A lot of stuff was happening right off the bat and I wasn't engaged with any of it. So again, not really a comment on the book itself. I imagine I'll give it another shot. And that wraps up the Mermaid reading challenge. So I successfully finished, what, 9 out of the 11 books. I read halfway through the Mermaid and Mrs Hancock. I got like a couple chapters into this one. And overall, I enjoyed the experience quite a bit. I think it was fun. It was a good time. It was a good time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my art channel if you like art stuff, because I will be posting there regularly. I'm going to continue to try to post here roughly once a week. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to thumbs up. Let me know in the comments section down below. Include this emoji if you made it to the end. Thank you so much for all of your love and support. And I will see you in the next video. Until next time, bye!